Alright guys, welcome back to episode 2 of season 3 of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't do an intro this week.
No?
And look, I know what you're thinking. It's the only thing I bring to the table. I didn't do it.
I sort of look forward to it, if anything, because I always find the beginning of a podcast is really awkward. You don't know how to dive into it, and it feels like a bit of an icebreaker.
That's very good. I welcome that lovely support. However, I'm going to fly in the face of it and say that I didn't do it. Didn't care enough. I thought about the extra strain I'd be putting on your back, but you're a big lad, you can handle it. I believe that you've got the strength to pull us through. But before we do the intro, let's jump into something. So you'll find our social media accounts.
Yep.
I don't know where we're pointing.
It will be roughly there.
See how well planned out this is. See how smooth this is.
Crossing Swords _podcast on Instagram.
Yeah, sorry, I talked over you. Do you want to go again, please?
Alright, so roughly here on the screen, you will see @Swords Crossing for Twitter and at Crossing Swords _podcast for Instagram, and then you should see our email address as well,
which is crossingswords19@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
The reason we kind of say that is, first of all, we want the likes.
We do, absolutely.
We're little begs. But more importantly, because it's a way to contact us, because today's episode is somewhat of a request. Shout out to Jack, Big J-Dog. J-Dog? I will play around with a nickname.
J-Dog from Japan, or who lives in Japan.
J-Dog from the J-Nation.
Yeah.
We'll play around with that. We'll figure that out.
Feels slightly anti-Semitic, and it's not intended to be.
Well, I don't think the Japanese have any history of... We're getting too off track. Look, we'll play around with the nickname, but he's sort of sent us some ideas, and we are getting through them. And that's what we want you to know, is that if you send us ideas, we'll get them, and we'll do it. So please do hit us up. Send us a message on Instagram. Send us a message on Twitter and via the email, and we will get there.
And also check us out on YouTube now. Every episode will be on YouTube, either in video form or audio.
I've made the effort. Like people listening can't hear this, but I've got on a nice shirt.
Nice is a strong
I've got a little
word.
bit of the hamburger meat hanging out. I've got the full Miami Vice thing going on.
And I've got my sexy glasses on, so...
They are pretty sick. They're like... Do you know... Have you ever seen porn? And
the
secretary
glasses.
comes in, the librarian comes in. Yeah, basically any woman.
Yeah.
To be honest.
She'll be wearing these glasses.
If she's meant to look like a nerd, but definitely isn't a nerd. That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
That's what you've got. Although you do carry more of a nerd vibe than a porn star vibe.
Understandable.
50-50. It's like 60-40.
Disappointing, but understandable.
It's sort of on the line with the Brexit vote. It's like 52-48.
The thing is,
close.
if I did look like a porn star, it's going to be the feeding porn, isn't it? It's going to be those people that like to watch someone fat eat food.
Mate, imagine if that's how you feel. Imagine how I feel. What kind of porn am I in?
Hawaiian leprechaun stuff.
Very niche.
Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to both my fans.
Got to.
Wank on.
I've just got one weird guy from Texas who likes watching me eat steak.
You eat that steak, boy.
Get in there nice and deep, lad.
Right, anyway.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a subject that's typically, I don't think it's sexist to say, quite a male subject. It's something men are more...
Well, it's heavily associated with what we've... something we have discussed in the past with that toxic... I'll try again. With that toxic aspect of masculinity.
Yeah.
So it kind of ties into that, and it's essentially history of any fights and stuff. And I think it's for me, and we'll get onto it, but for me it's a nice callback to the toxic masculinity episode.
Yeah.
My personal experiences with it. I don't know about your own.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair thing to say. I mean, I was very much unlucky. I was a big guy from a young age, so I just stood out and was a target, and therefore, I wouldn't say I got into a lot of fights, but a fair few.
No, but I think people were often like, oh, there's a fight going down, so fuck, get Andrew involved.
Yeah.
Get him on your side. Be mates with him because no one will pick you.
Yeah, I suppose so. Although I only really have an experience of that happening maybe 2 or 3 times. It was never like a systemic problem.
Well, that's fair enough. I've believe it or not, never had that problem. People are not coming to me for fights and fight advice. Pretty sure.
That does surprise me. I picture you down a dirty, sweaty gym somewhere in a boxing corner coaching someone.
I think if anything, the role I play in fights is to kind of
Egg it
saddle
on.
up to someone and go, mate, he just called you a cunt.
He's slagging off your mum. He's saying he shagged her last
Hear the
week.
things he is saying, mate. Hear the things he's saying. He reckons he can knock you out in one punch. I'd do him.
You're Jack Nicholson in anger management, aren't you? When he's talking to the Buddhist, he's like over and over again like a wildebeest. And then Jack Nicholson just comes in and goes, wildebeest. And just sets him off.
I like to think that's traditionally my role. But
Although I have to say, you don't have the same presence in a room as
how
Jack
dare
Nicholson.
you? How dare you? We're not going to move on until you apologise for that comment.
You're telling me you're as good as Jack Nicholson?
I'm saying I command a room as well as Jack Nicholson.
I'm sorry, I don't think that's that might be a Twitter.
Okay, how
poll.
much would you give me? Like 80% to his 100.
If I'm being generous, 50% of the way.
Well, try and be a bit more generous.
I can't. It would strain credulity to
You know what,
give
guys?
me too much.
You know, we made it to the third season. We had a good run. But, you know.
Guys, let us know in the comments what you think. Does Jake command a room like Jack Nicholson?
Let us know who should replace me. I swear to God, if anyone says Jack Nicholson, yeah, not well. Listen.
Can you imagine how good would that podcast be? I'd be well up for that. Sorry,
I wouldn't. I'm out in the door.
If Jack Nicholson phones me and says, "Do you want to do a podcast together?" I'll be yeah.
Well, we're on a podcast. It's going well. I leave, and suddenly it goes stratospheric because Jack Nicholson comes on board. Bollocks to that.
And we still take Ash with us as our football correspondent.
Fuck you guys. I never liked either of you.
Yeah.
Let's get to the subject at hand, perhaps.
Yeah.
My earliest, I'll talk about first of all, and then you can kind of go and I'll. But my earliest memory of being involved in a fight, so to speak, and I remember it in primary school. And that.
Right, so you were in primary school.
Yeah, sorry guys, that was the future calling. I told them they'd have to wait for the pod.
Yeah.
Right, so I was in primary school. Yeah, I was in the corridor outside the classroom, and I just remember this kid just like jumped on my back and just started trying to punch me.
Did you do anything to this kid?
Yeah, I rammed him into the coat hooks.
No, I mean to antagonise the situation.
Well, I don't remember doing anything, but you've met me.
You probably said something snarky, thought it was clever.
Well,
and
not
funny.
like 10. I mean,
I reckon
I have this
I reckon you were a little prick back
witty
then
presence
as well.
then. Yeah, I was probably was a little prick. No, I don't remember. I just, he was a troubled young child.
Mm.
He was a troubled young child. He was a dick. But do you know what I do remember is we were actually friends
All right.
for a large part. Like, I think our parents were friends, and so he kind of would hang out with us.
Mm.
And I don't mean like he would linger. Like, he was part of the group. Like, he was all right. I always got on with him well enough. I don't remember what happened to the relationship to split it such, but he jumped on
blows.
jumped on my back and started punching me. And I sort of rammed him into the coat hooks, and that was it really. Because after that, teacher came and broke it up.
Yeah. So he kicked your ass.
Well, no, hold on a minute. Them coat hooks fucking hurt. Like, we need to readdress this, okay? If you're going to tell me, what is this, just pick on Jake Day? Oh, you don't have the presence of Nicholson. You got your ass kicked when you was a kid. What is this? Do you want to show a man some respect, please?
I mean, with the camera now, people can actually see the hurt in Jake's eyes. Anyway, sorry, continue with your heart-wrenching story.
Fuck you, show a man some respect. You've got to start acting up, son. Listen, you see what I put up with? Do you know what I've realised as well is that our relationship with the listeners, that's you guys, is very much like our relationship with ourselves. There's a lot of love, a lot of sex, and a lot of hatred. A lot of pure venom, and sometimes that leads to the good sex.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of animosity.
Yeah.
There's no love lost.
No.
And at the same time, a lot of love gained. Who'd have thunk it?
It's a double-sided coin.
It's a double-sided coin. That was one of my early memories anyway, and I don't remember much. The other one
Do you remember their name?
Yeah, Dan. I'm not going to go further than that. I don't want to necessarily call the guy out, but I also remember.
Yeah, over a fight he had when he was what?
Like, listen, the man's got beef. Come out, man. Yeah. Where you at? What are you saying? I feel like I'd be quite good in a fight as that jumped up guy. It's like, hold me back, motherfucker, I'm going. I think I'd be quite good at that. As long as you don't actually let me go, that'd be worrying. So then I'd suddenly be like, oh, do you know what? I think I left something behind. Yeah, do you know what? This now's not a good time. Actually, I've got a meeting coming up.
Can we reschedule this for like a few weeks?
Let's say you didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. It was all good fun. We'll call it there. The other one I remember from primary school was the two classes in year 6. We just didn't like each other. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But we had a rock fight.
Right.
Just like stood on either end of the playground.
Just lobbing rocks at
each other. Yeah, I remember particularly aiming for one kid. His name was Edward. He was a dick. I never really liked him. I just remember aiming. I just remember quite specifically aiming for him. I was like, I don't care if I hit him. You're like, fuck, that prick's getting it. I don't remember if I hit him. It was quite a big melee. As you can imagine, there's about 15 or 16 guys on one side, 15 or 16 guys on the other side, and just fucking stones flying everywhere. Christ knows what happened. And to be quite honest, with a gathering that large, I'm not entirely sure how the school let it happen.
No.
Like, I don't know how you didn't pick up on that. That, I've noticed that the two classrooms seem to have both split up into factions and are now gathering stones by one edge of the playground. I wonder what could possibly be going down. So I'm a little shocked. But those are certainly my early memories, and I don't know.
Are we going early first and then other
Yeah, I
ones,
think
or?
so. I mean, obviously this is as well planned out as usual. So
I mean, I don't really remember primary school having fights in particular. I remember like someone would try something and then I didn't, and then that'd be it.
Mate, fucking big talk over here.
Well,
they weren't fights as much as just physical domination, really. Just I wouldn't call it a competition. They stepped up, I knocked them out.
The first fight I really remember ever having, it was my first week of year 7, and we'd made the mistake of trying to play football in the playground in an area that was for the older kids, and a load of them came over and stole the ball, and then this one lad kicked my bag that we were using as a goal post, so I pushed him over. Suddenly we were in a circle, and we're having this fight.
I know you say in a second, like in my head, it's like, do you know in the movies when they sort of gather around, there's two guys in the middle dancing around and they're like dun dun dun, and you're like, yeah.
But he was one of these guys where he just kept trying to kick, so like I couldn't get.
Yeah, what is with that? Why do some people go for a kick?
I don't know. And then suddenly I felt someone hit me in the back. So I turned and hit that person, and now all of a sudden I'm in a fight with someone else, and there's a new circle around me, and I ended up on top of the guy hitting him, and then obviously it got broken up, and then for about 2 months in school, I'm not going to say the guy's full name, but he was like 2 years above me, and I was known as the guy who beat up Ross.
Yeah.
But the thing was, as good as that sounds for someone just starting out in school, it was the worst thing, because then all of a sudden
you're the top dog and everyone wants to take on the top dog.
Yeah, and it's not something I wanted to.
We've all been to prison. We all know how the rules work.
I didn't want to lean into it whatsoever. I didn't want to be known as someone who was up for a fight or anything like that. I'm in general very much someone who's lower tone when I'm out and about. I don't want to stand out.
You save it for the bedroom. I get it.
Well, exactly.
I get it. No, your fiance texts me all the time.
And then she tells you about her sex life. So yeah, that's like my first memory of ever having a fight. And then in year 7, it was a weird year. There was beef with, I want to say, Greenshaw School. There was another like local school, and we were like, I don't know how it started, but one of the years had attacked and really hurt a boy from another year.
Yeah.
No one was quite sure who started it, but they basically.
But all you knew was there's a beef. It's like the hundreds. It was like this big war. You're like, no one knows how it began.
Yeah.
But I'll be hell if I'm going down.
And it resulted in one day a load of Greenshaw boys
turning up
at our school, coming into the playground.
Yeah, we had that with some John Fisher lot.
And attacking us. And then it became this whole big thing that like year 9 down to 7, we're going to go meet up with an equivalent group from Greenshaw and just have a massive brawl.
Have it out.
And it was
Standard.
like, if you didn't go,
yes,
that was the thing. If
yes.
I remember being told by like this year 9 kid, if you're not there, we're gonna know.
Can I just?
And you'll get it. And it was like, what?
Can I just give an honourable shout out to a little tiny little anecdote from Greenshaw?
Yeah.
There was this kid in my year, and do you know what? I was going to say he's not very bright, but I think the question that comes up more often than not throughout this anecdote is like, what is wrong with you? And you'll see what I mean. So there was this thing, I can't remember how it started. Another group had like from another school had like insulted this guy's girlfriend or something. I don't remember. Anyway, they all decided like we're going to go and have a scrap in. I can't say it without laughing. In the underground Sainsbury's car park in Wallington.
Right, as
you know, with cameras, with cars, with witnesses, straight after school as well. It's not like dead of the night. I mean, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's march down to a busy car park where everyone's doing their shopping and have it out. But somewhere it was decided that my group, and I use that term very, very fucking loosely, we're going to bring knives. Right. Escalate it really quickly. Now, none of the knives ever got used, but I do recall, and it was just so fucking funny. This guy, and again, this is the first instance of a "what is wrong with you" moment. So we're walking down the and you know, sort of down by Wellington train station, out on the main road, to a busy road. Like I said, about 3:30 in the afternoon or whatever.
So it's rush hour.
And this kid has pulled out of his bag this fuck off knife. I mean, like, do you know one of them
like
kitchen knives, like a proper, not quite machete, but like a kitchen knife, but proper hardcore. And he's like waving it around, like I'm gonna fucking shank some boys or whatever. It's so good. And that's the first one. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, then we hear this. It was like a movie. You hear these like screeching tires stop, and we turn around, and there's this guy. Akash, motherfucker's dad has rolled up, watching him brandish this knife. Drags him away. He gets called into the office. Everyone gets called into the head teacher's office the next day because, believe it or not, no one got away with it.
No.
Like, people knew what went down. Yeah. There wasn't even a fight. Do you know what? I remember going there. But for the record, didn't bring a knife.
Good.
I had no interest in that at all, and I didn't want it to escalate. I didn't want to be in a fight. Like, I just went because, like you said, you don't want to be the guy that doesn't turn up, because that's socially that's much harder if you're the guy that didn't turn up. So I was like, I've got to be shown that I'm down for it. I'm not going to bring a fucking knife. Like, don't be a dickhead. Anyway, sitting in the head teacher's office, and the guy was like, so you had that big knife, you know, we've all seen it, you know, mostly your dad ratted, maybe his dad ratted us all out. Fucking
I reckon his dad
mate.
made him rat you guys out.
No, yeah, do you know what? Not even his dad. I reckon his dad was like, what happened? And he just fucking blabbed, told the full lot, names, lists, times.
The exact words used.
Yeah, well, it was like, but anyway, the head teacher was like, why did you have the knife? And he said, I use it for food tech. Doesn't take food tech. And second instance of what is wrong with you. Third instance was he elaborated on the food tech thing. He said, I use it for food tech, for cutting apples. I'm like, how tough are your apples? Like, fuck me. It's safe to say he got expelled. This is where Greenshaw comes into it, because he went to Greenshaw, and that's a long way around it, but it's one of my favourite anecdotes. It's so good. The guy was like, so many, what the fuck was wrong with that kid? I don't know. He turned up at Greenshaw, and now this is speculation. It's hearsay, as a lot of kid stuff is. Supposedly, when asked, you know, why you got kicked out of our school, he'd said, and I'm quoting now from the supposed, this is what he said, he got kicked out for beating up bare black boys. Now, I have a few issues with that. First of all, the sort of,
why black boys?
What I assume is this racist idea that black guys are tough guys, therefore they're the top of the food chain. You've done them, like, fucking yes mate, I'm the top dog. You know, there's a problem. Second of all, what I think in his mind was him coming across as saying like, yeah, I'm the top dog, I took on the top boys, has actually come out as, I like to systemically target black people and physically assault them.
Yeah. No, nothing about that story is good for him.
It's
whatsoever.
Such a good story.
I wonder what he's like now,
mate. I mean, Christ knows. I wouldn't. The thing is, like, I think now if he approached me as like a career criminal, was like, we're gonna do a job, I'd be like, well, no, you're gonna get caught. Like, no,
you're gonna be stood there waving.
No doubt in my mind that you're gonna get caught
at a busy train station, just waving knives.
Just walking into the jewellery store and being like, I wouldn't be here if I was you. I'm about to rob it. Mate, stick around and watch this. Hey, it's good, isn't it? Gotta shoot bear people. Where's the blacks?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, like, yeah, that kid has so many problems. So many problems.
I'm just curious. Was this kid white?
Middle Eastern.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough.
Mm.
Fair enough. I just had a picture of this like skinny little white kid.
No, he had it was a very light brown, but he had this, brown skin, olive, I guess is the correct term. Mediterranean-y skin, but
it's a sort of like
he was white, essentially.
Okay.
He was,
yeah.
But yeah, that was just, man, that kid was so fucked up. How he ever I don't even know how he had got into the little crew. It turned out to be a blessing, by the way, that because the guys that were like, we're going to bring the knives and we're going to start this fight, got excluded for a few days, and it kind of was seen even by them as you should probably distance yourself a little bit from us.
Yeah.
So me and another kid kind of were like, yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah.
and got out. I never really wanted them, but it does kind of lead into my another fight story that I had, similar to what you were sort of saying. I remember, again, in that little crew, it might have been a slightly different crew, but I was starting to, I when I went to school, I was a fucking nerd. A bod was the term.
Yeah.
Bodrick.
What does that even mean?
Fuck knows. I haven't heard it for about 20 years. How the fuck would I know? But anyway, I was a bodrick. I liked learning. I was good at it. I remember going around a kid's house once after school, high school, and he was like, yeah, come hang out. And I was like, oh yeah. And I brought my bag with me, and I was like, oh, should we do the homework now? And I was like, what a fucking nerd. I look back on it now in my mind, I'm like, what a loser. I was a fucking loser, mate. Who goes around someone's house to make friends? Is like, should we do the homework?
You keep saying the word was. I'm slightly concerned. Anyway, sorry, you were saying.
Man's gonna have to start showing man some respect. I'm telling you now. Listen, anyway, yeah, no, but they were sort of I was sort of done away with the Bodrick stuff, and I was trying to just be like, oh, I don't care, I'm with you guys, and it was just starting to gain, I wouldn't say popularity as such, but I was starting to
a bit more respect.
I was in the in.
Yeah.
And someone just decided that if you're going to be in the inn, you've got to have a fight. And it wasn't like this unspoken thing. It was spoken.
Yeah.
They came to me and said, you're gonna have to beat someone up. You're gonna have to fight someone. And I was like, but I don't want to. And they picked this other kid who was sort of similarly built to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I don't want to fucking fight him. I'm like, I'm not best mates with the guy or anything, but I've got nothing against the guy. And they just sort of pushed us into the and sort of circled around us and pushed us into the thing. It was like, we're not letting you leave till you fight. And I was like, I don't. So we just had what can only be described as the most pathetic scrap you've ever seen in your life, until they all got bored with it and left. And I was like, I didn't want to fight. I still don't consider that a fight.
No.
But it was it plays into that toxic masculinity thing of at what point does someone decide, all right, you're cool, but you haven't had a fight yet. Yourself. Yeah, you need to be physically why? And I didn't. After that, I was just I would just say stupid things and make them laugh, and I was fine. I didn't need to fight, but it was a weird thing, and
it was almost as if they needed confirmation that you were on their level, sort of thing. That if anything did happen when you were with them, they knew you'd get involved rather than potentially just watch or run away.
Yeah,
because they obviously saw themselves as quite hard guys.
Yeah, they were a bit of a crew. Also around the same sort of time, I've got to give mention to a guy I must have been about year 8, year 9, and one of the year 11s put me in a proper headlock because I said to him, there was two of them. I don't know why I said it. I look back now, I'm like, why would you antagonise them like that? They were being a bit dickish as older kids are, and I said something along the lines of to one of them had glasses on, the other one didn't. I said something along the lines of mate, this fella spits so much, you probably need wipers on your glasses or something. And that was it. That was enough to push them off. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, why did I say that? That's a really weird thing, considering I want to avoid any physical confrontation.
Yeah, you basically just asked.
Why would I walk into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, very odd. Anyway, please.
So yeah, to be fair, I think what I always used to find quite frustrating. I didn't enjoy fighting, but quite often, because I was normally the bigger guy, because it was usually smaller guys picking a fight to try and make a name for themselves.
That's how we met.
I would normally get dragged off by several people, And then during that process, the other person would hit me and then run around going,
I beat him up.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you didn't. I was restrained by like 5 people. You had no one because they saw you were so insignificant. You hit me once while my back was turned. You did not beat me up. But everyone would run along with it. So it'd be like, oh, you got beaten up by whoever. And he was like a midget. And he was like, but to be honest, most of it was my own fault because I was too easily antagonised.
Yeah, I get that.
Back then, if you said anything like, "Oh, your sister's a slag" or "Your mum's a whore," like that would set me off. Now, and like eventually, my sister and mum were like, "Seriously, like this is ridiculous."
Yeah, it's a weird thing, man. Because when we were growing up, like when you're kids, someone insults your family, it's like a big fucking deal, especially your mum. They go after your mum, you're like, oh. But now, someone makes a joke about my mum, I play along normally more often than not. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like such a difference. And the only thing that's changed is me.
But isn't it funny that even now, a group of lads, you will still go for each other's mum or sister or so, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's like, more...
We find it's
a lot more friendly now.
Yeah, but we still find it just as funny.
Yeah, we do find it just funny. I don't know why.
It's quite funny. Because there's always been like a sort of running joke with your mum.
Stop it.
Amongst a group of friends. No, and I'm not gonna bring it up in the slightest.
Stop it. No, Dave might listen to this. So I'm encouraging.
But yeah.
Look at that, 2 shout outs in one episode.
So like normally, like there was one day I got in 2 fights in one day, with the same kid. Or with his mate. It might have been him and his mate, but separately. And one of them we were all playing lacrosse. And he started saying stuff about
lacrosse. What kind of fucking school did you go to? I thought you went to
I went to a sports college,
a comprehensive all boys school. Now you're out there playing lacrosse. Like, go Hugo.
No, it wasn't like that at all.
No, I didn't think it would be.
But no, yeah, we played lacrosse. It was a sports college. You learn most sports. And I don't even know like what the argument was that he was like mouthing off. And I was like, come over here and say that. And he was like, put your stick down and I will. So I dropped it. And I was like, now drop yours. And then he ran at me with his. And because he was quite short, he went to hit me with it.
Please don't tell me you just
grabbed it.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you did that hold and back thing. I thought that was going to be amazing.
And then like he tried to whack my legs with it. Like he tried everything. And then I managed to get hold of him. And then just as I was about to hit him, I get dragged off by several other people. And then he punched me in the back of the head as I was getting dragged away. And he was like, oh, I'll beat the shit out of you. And it was just like, I made it worse. And then I think literally the next lesson, he was in the same class with his mate. And his mate was like, oh, you got beaten up. And then hit me in the back of the head. So I reached over the table, grabbed him by the neck and pulled him towards me. And then again, I get dragged off. And I got put outside this classroom. The teacher came out and was like, now look, I'm going to bring him out here and we're going to talk about this and sort it out. And I was like, if you bring him out here,
I will hit him.
I'm going to lay hands on him and that will be on you. Do not bring him out here. I'm not in any state to deal with him, basically. But the teacher insisted, you will not lay hands on him. I will bring him out here and we will sort this out. He brought him out there. I immediately launched at him and had him by the throat up against the wall.
You don't sort something out in the immediate aftermath of an event. You'd say to them, go and cool off.
Yeah.
And then in 20 minutes,
yeah,
we'll sort it out.
And back then I had real anger issues. It didn't take much to push me over the edge. And then once I was over the edge, it took being held back by several people to stop me usually. And that's exactly what happened. I had to be pulled off of this guy who I was essentially choking to death. Because the thing was, I didn't like punching people because it hurt. So I just used my strength basically.
And can I just say that in honing your choking skills, your fiance is very grateful.
What is it like to? So I'm bagging on you, and you're like banging on about my sex life.
I don't know. It's just like the right thing to do, the right way to respond.
Whatever floats your boat, mate. If
and it does float my boat.
Choking my fiance gets you going, then
if you don't want it, stop sending me the videos.
I was asking you about form. It was strictly scientific.
What do you think about this technique?
Yeah, that's all it was. It was just for tips. It wasn't for pleasure.
Go slow in the middle.
And then there was the one that really stood out because it was sort of like a shit. I need to sort myself out. I mean, there was another one actually. It wasn't a fight, but it was like an incident, and it really pissed me off. There was this guy in my ear. I'm going to say his first name, James.
It's easy when they've got really common names, but when they've got really unique names, you're like, well,
he's got a really. I can remember his full name, and if I saw him to this day, I'm still angry about what he did, and I would hit him.
Okay.
Because it was just so unnecessary. We were playing. There was a load of us playing table tennis in one of the sports halls, and me and this other guy called Sam were like mucking around with the table tennis rackets while they played, because there was only a certain amount of tables, and we were chucking our racket to each other over the table from the side while they were playing, and I tried to do a fancy sort of throw and do it from like round behind my back with my hand behind my back.
Well, you know, from your sporting prowess, I believe that you can pull it off.
I didn't, and I hit this guy James in the face with my racket. Not especially hard, but I instantly ran to him and was like, "Mate, I am so sorry. That was unacceptable." And his reaction was to pick his up and smack me in the face with it.
Which is a very boyish reaction.
And he split my lip, and I started pouring blood. I've still to this day got a scar on the inside of my mouth from where he split my lip.
Yeah.
And then what made it worse was my parents couldn't make it into the school to talk about the incident, and my head of years got me in his office with this guy and this guy's mum, so I haven't got a parent with me, and she basically was like, he needs to apologise to my son, and I snapped and was like, are you fucking crazy? Your son has literally done damage to me. There's not a fucking scratch on him, and you're saying I need to apologise.
Also, I know you didn't at the time, but what you should have said is, I did. That's how I got this.
Yeah, and I think I did say to her, like, I did apologise to your son, and I got this in return. I was like, I got sent out of the office then because I started abusing the boy's mum.
Do you know what? I've seen pornos. I know how it starts.
And I just logically, I was like, I think I actually said in the room, like, your son's a cunt. There's something wrong with him. I was like, it was an accident. I shouldn't have been doing it, absolutely. I apologised for it, and his reaction was to smack me across the face with a table tennis racket. There's something not right in his head. And at that point, I got sent out of the office. And I got told if I didn't apologise, I'd get excluded. And I was like, exclude me then. I'm not apologising.
Fine, I'm not apologising.
Because I'll be risking getting smacked across the face again as far as I'm concerned. And I was like, yeah. So I think I got put on report, like the highest level, which was like this red piece of paper that you had to get signed
teachers have to sign it off. Yeah.
To say you behaved yourself.
We had
and
a
I
similar
got put
system.
on that. And my parents were livid. I don't think it got taken any further because I was like, look, that I think I said to my parents, his mum's unhinged. I was like, you're not going to benefit anything from trying to sort anything out with that woman. And quite frankly, I don't want to apologise to him, and I don't want him to apologise to me because I'm just going to hit him. So
well, then let's just say, from crossing swords to James, fuck you, you're a cunt.
Yeah. And like I said, to this day, like even talking about the story, I can feel myself getting
a bit angry.
Yeah, because it just, to this day,
that's the kind of rawness we want.
I still logically can't understand how, like, especially I can remember the tone of my voice when I was apologising.
No, but I can picture it because you get smacked in let's picture that we're both, pretty typical boys. Obviously we're not, we're much more better than that, but let's assume that we are. You get hit in the face, someone comes over, you're not really listening to what they're saying, you're like, fucking hit me in the face, you cunt, and you just do one back, and you're like, you're not listening to what they're saying.
The things, I think, because I would never normally react like that, and also he was quite a quiet guy and quite unassuming.
They're usually the school shooters.
So I'm pretty sure he's a psychopath. I'm pretty sure that guy's probably at least murdered a few dogs by now, if not some humans. Like, he's that guy that takes a dog home and like strangles it and mutilates it with his penis. Do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
Well, let's be honest, if he strangles it with his penis, consider us impressed.
Yeah. No, I think I'd still be disgusted.
He might have a tiny cock.
Hopefully.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the worst thing, if someone's a dick and you find that they've got
for the
a
women he's
dick.
likely gone on to sexually abuse, I hope for their sake they didn't have to feel anything.
In the moments leading up to their death.
So yeah, and then there was one more. There was another. I say fight. I got knocked out. We were in again a sports hall. Like, shit just went down in sports halls apparently.
It's chaos, mate. The teacher can't control that.
I'm like, people listening to this will find this hard to believe. There was a time where I was shit at football.
I won't have that.
And could barely kick a ball.
You might have been having an off day, but come on, mate.
and basically most of the lads in my year were quite good at football. So most of the time, if they were playing, I didn't bother joining in because I just looked like a.
You look worse than you are, and you're not that good to start
Well,
with.
exactly. I looked even worse than I was. So I would just sit at the side, and I think I was reading something, bod, at the side of the sports hall, and all of a sudden, this guy. I'm not going to say his name because it's quite a unique
specific name. Yeah,
I've
fine.
not heard another name like it. And he booted a football from point blank range, just like drop kicked it in my face from like I would say less than a yard, just out of nowhere, unprovoked, and after about 5 minutes of like my eyes watering and checking if my nose was bleeding, I sort of just got up and was like, well, come on then, is that you obviously want to fight? So let's have a fight. I just about remember throwing one punch at him, and that's it. After that, it was about 10-15 minutes later, I woke up to people like huddled over me asking if I was alright. And I just went, did I not win? And then I was in quite a bit of pain. He obviously punched me, I'm assuming, a few times in the face.
But all that stuff there that you've spoken about, the whole, someone hits you, so you hit them back without taking anything else in. Someone just walks up and is like, oh, I'm gonna dick this guy, I'm gonna kick the ball at him. All that stuff there is the really dangerous effect of the boys will be boys mantra.
Well, I think especially going to an all boys school, it was all pent up and like there was no.
And there were no girls to impress.
No, so it was like if something happened between you and someone else at school, usually it was quite spiteful. It was for the sake of doing it. It wasn't
bravado.
No, it was. And I remember storming out at the sports hall, and my teacher, who'd been disappeared for like half of the class, suddenly reappeared.
He saw that guy walking up to you. He's like, I don't want a beer when that goes down. Deniability, mate. I'm out.
And I was walking as if to leave the school in general, not just leave the sports hall. And he was like, where do you think you're going? I was like, I'm fucking going home, mate. And he was like, who the hell do you think you're talking to? What the hell, like, what's happened? What's wrong? And I was like, well, if you'd have been in the fucking sports hall, you'd know, wouldn't you? And then the next day I saw him and he was like, we're going to the headmaster's office. And I said to him, if you want to explain to the headmaster
why you weren't in the room
and what happened
then
as to why I swore at you, then let's go do that. Otherwise, leave me the fuck alone. And he was just like, he just said nothing. So I just walked off.
Yeah, well.
And then there was one more that sort of led me to have to sort of sort my anger out. I was in a science class and this guy called Stephen came up behind me, and we used to wear these black blazers with a buttoned white shirt, tie, all that. And I never used to, like, now if I wore a smart shirt I normally wear something underneath, but I didn't back then. And he just came up behind me for no reason and ripped my shirt open.
Brutal.
And I've always been overweight. Back then I was very insecure about it, and I just snapped and went after him, and all I remember was ending up at the front of the class with his head through a glass pane. It was one of those sort of chemical, when you did chemistry they would do experiments inside this sort of glass container, and I'd put his head through that. I'd just completely lost it. And next thing I know, I'm outside the classroom being restrained by like loads of people. I just kept wanting to get to him. And then someone grabbed me by the back of my head, like by my hair, and all I remember was turning and swinging, hitting them, and it was my head of the year. And I instantly went from like 100 to 0.
Minus 10.
And I was just like, I just completely lost. And to be fair,
the power of an authoritative figure.
He was someone I actually quite respected and quite liked. And he was very supportive and stuff like that. So like knowing I'd just hit him, and like the look on his, I was absolutely bricking it. And he took me into his office, and he was quite honest. He was like, I could have you kicked out of this school right now and not blink. He was like, but I don't want to do that.
I know what's happened.
He's like, I know what's happened. I know you get bullied. I know you struggle with your anger, but this cannot happen anymore. You know, we can't excuse.
I'm not going to kick you out, but I'm not going to save you again.
So he said, if I'm to let you stay in this school, you've got to start seeing the school counsellor. And we had this chat, and then he brought, I think my dad might have come in, and he talked to my dad about it. So then my dad sort of introduced me to sort of meditation and things like that. And so between the counselling and the meditation, I managed to get
mellow a bit.
Well, got my anger completely under control, near enough.
I was going to say, we've been at it a couple of times, so not that under control.
But yeah, no, and I then had nothing but love and respect for that
teacher
because I could have easily got kicked out. It could have been another teacher, and I'd have been kicked out.
It was a big turning point in your life. I think it's safe to say that your life could have ended up differently, not in a good way.
No. So yeah, no. It's looking back on it. It was massive moment. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's full respect to that teacher. I think.
And I would actually say his name because I think he should be quite proud of himself. His name's Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown.
And I believe he still works
We
there.
salute you.
And he used to come into my work now and again, and I was still afraid to go and talk to him, and I always wanted to thank him.
Just to go over and say, you've changed my life for a really good way. Yeah.
Even if he wasn't the one who actually did the things that made me, but he...
Well, you know what, if anyone's listening to this who knows Mr. Brown, tell him.
Yeah, I don't know if he would even remember or remember who I am, but no, thank you very much.
No, big ups. Yeah. Big ups. I've got two more, really. One wasn't as much a fight as I got just assaulted. It was too quick to be a fight. Yeah, I was on a bus coming back from Croydon.
Makes sense.
Obviously. And this guy was like his wife, partner, I don't know that it was his wife, but they were clearly romantically involved. She got on the bus and he was going to cycle all the way behind. And I was just fascinated.
How old were you at this point?
That's about 14, something like that. And I was fascinated. I was like, look at this guy, fucking go, mate. Matching the bus pace for pace, stopping when the bus stops, carrying on, and I was just sort of looking out, and I didn't even clock these kids, who would have been about the same age. Didn't even clock them, and they've obviously thought I'm pointing at them. So one's come up, I'm sitting at the back of the bus. So I didn't clock them, so I didn't know what was about to happen. I didn't know what happened, and suddenly the fire exit door flew open, and this fucking punch landed right on my hooter. I mean, proper square on. And in a reaction, I was kind of like flinging out, like punching, but I didn't know what I was punching because I didn't know where it had come from. I'm like looking at the back, and suddenly, bang!
So
from
what?
The side,
he opened the fire exit
from the outside, and the fire exit door. I didn't know you could do that.
No,
then. It was a learning moment. It was a big moment.
And then, so basically, because he thought you pointed at him, he thought that was a good enough reason.
He thought we were. He thought I was mocking him or making fun of him or something like that. Seen that guy over there, whatever. And I punched. And what had happened is, just as he'd punched it, another bus had come in the other direction. Yeah. So all I got was a punch in the nose and a fist on a bus. That's what I got for my troubles. Yeah. So I ended up going with bruised knuckles. Didn't land a fucking punch on the guy.
So you punched the bus?
I punched the bus. I sort of like, oh shit, like, I was like, oh, that's where the punch came from. Threw it, and I just punched the bus. Yeah. Because the bus was pulled up, and I was like, oh, you're right. I'm like, well, not now. Go and fucking get the cunt. You go and run him over.
That's mad, though. That's
yeah. And I remember I was like completely bloody nose, and I just didn't want to go home. I was like, I can't.
Like what, your parents?
I don't know. Yeah.
And
I ended up going back to a friend's house and just sort of had to call my parents' pension. Was like, or their parents called my parents. Was like, yeah, you need to come get your son. Yeah. So I think I was a bit shaken up from it. I can imagine
in those moments there is a huge embarrassment factor.
Yeah, massive.
Because no matter what size you are, as like a man or a boy or like whatever,
you're meant to be able to hold your own.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you don't, or you don't even get the chance to, and someone just does something, it massively affects your confidence.
Yeah, no, I think I was just, I was still under the masculine influence, and I think, no, that makes it sound like a gay thing. I was under the...
No, I don't think it does. I understand what you mean.
Not that they're,
It was still something that meant something.
Like, the thing is, I look back on it now, like, logically, what were you meant to do? You didn't know it was going to come.
No.
He came and went with, like, one punch and was off. Logically, I don't know how I was meant to respond, but anyway.
Yeah.
That was, like, my... one of my honorable mentions. Fucked my nose up as well. I actually had to get surgery to fix that a couple of years back.
Oh, is that what caused it?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what caused it. It caught me square on. I even took a day off school, like the next day off school. I think that might have happened on a Sunday, and I took the Monday off because I was just like mortified. I was like, I can't go in and tell people I got fucking bopped on the nose. I just can't do it. But yeah, it was an interesting incident. It's it left its damage. It fucking caught me square on, and no, I don't remember. And no one really give a shit. The guys I was with, there was like a little bit of like, "Oh, you're right." There's nothing more than that. And
Well, I can imagine it's the shock of it.
Yeah, I imagine it
all
was a shock of it.
Like,
I've also got to give an honourable shout out to my drama teacher.
Okay.
My substitute drama teacher. I'll set the stage. I won't say what it was, and then elaborate on it. I'll build to it. The beautiful crescendo. So we had a substitute drama teacher. I was in year 8. I specifically remember this. He came in. It was like we were doing like a show and tell or whatever. And one of the girls in the class brought in a CD. It was I can't remember the guy's name, but it was like, whatever you said, it don't mean shit now. That was the song.
Yeah.
Like, someone's gonna remember it out there, right? Probably not. Anyway, that was a song, and she brought in like a clean version, and he started playing it, and he was filling in the swear words, and it was all a bit like, it's a bit odd. Anyway, a bit later on, we're all sitting around in a big circle. That's how our drama class was laid out. You all sit in a big circle, and I was sitting there, and I just, you just get the giggles, and I just couldn't stop laughing. And he was like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "No, I'm not," And he was like, "Right, get up and move." And he moved me because he thought maybe it was the crowd I was with. So he moved me across. And that's the danger as a teacher. You let people sit with their friends, you're going to get shit like that. Yeah. So he's like, go and sit on the other side of the room. So I literally walked from there to there, directly across. And I don't think I even sat down. But he just sort of went, "You think that's funny? Do you think this is funny?" And he picked up his chair and he threw it. And it just went like just past my head and like shattered on the wall behind me. And do you know what? Yeah, I did still think that was funny. I was still laughing. And he sent me outside, and I just went and stood outside like a good boy, and just sort of was like laughing. And I was like, it was only in the aftermath that I was like, I should probably do something about that. I should probably report that. He got sacked. I wasn't the only one to. Do you know what the interesting thing though? So this guy threw a fucking chair at my head. 2 people reported it. Me, and the girl who brought in the CD. And I don't even know if she mentioned the fucking chair. She might have just been like, yeah, he swore a lot. I'm like, I don't know. But I'm slightly annoyed at the lack of concern from my fellow classmates who watched this man attempt to assault me and said nothing.
Well, the thing is, that worries me in 2 senses. One, that no one cared, but also it could be the fact that he does it so regularly. They're just completely dead to it. But no, but I don't understand why he went from 0 to 100.
It escalated really fucking quickly. Really quickly.
He went from, this guy's laughing at me, to nobody laughs at me.
I don't know what I did. I really don't know what I did. That has to get an honourable mention. The other honourable mention is not so much my story, it's your story. It's not a fight in terms of a physical fight, but it is an argument. You know full well what's coming. No, you don't, but you will. So one of our friends, who we will get on the pod at one point, and I'm making that as a promise now, Alex.
Yeah.
Will get on the pod at some point. Okay. I love that man. I've got so much love for Alex.
We can get him to talk about Southern or something.
Yeah, but don't expect him for a while. I'd listened and I played my part in this story because I stirred it up without knowing I'd stirred it up. Alex said something to me about this gentleman that you're listening to here, about the one you see before you.
Yes.
About football. It's to do with football, supporting something, not being a true fan. I can't remember what it was.
You guys were going
to an away game somewhere.
Old Trafford. You were going to Old Trafford. And now I used to, for a bit of context for the story, when I was younger, was a fan of Man United. And then once I sort of got into football properly and had a group of friends, I started going to Palace games, became a Palace fan, was a season ticket holder and everything. So.
And I thought genuinely that Alex had said something along the lines of like, oh, he's United fans, like why would I bring him to the Palace end kind of thing. And I mentioned it, like not in like I'm going to go and tell on him. We were talking, it came up, and I just sort of mentioned, oh, actually,
because I think I asked like, how come
and I
there
think
wasn't
I didn't
an
just like
invite
give it up. I think there was a bit of prodding. There was like, no, why? What was said, kind of thing. And I said, and turns out I was wrong. For the record, Alex never said that at all. Big sent me this message. He was like, this full-on rant at Alex. As like, fuck, like I thought our friendship meant something, but I can't think we can go the same going forward. Like, and he sent it to me, and he just went, I'm going to send this out. And I was like, mate, I wouldn't. I was like, that's really full on. And I was like, you'll regret it. And he said, I've already sent it. And Alex came back couldn't have been nicer about it.
My God.
Could not have been a nicer bloke. And I will let you go for it, because you obviously, it was your thing. You know what he said, but my memory of it was so brilliant. And I remember looking at you and going, "Told you, regret it."
Like, the thing was, he instantly was disarming. He was so nice, it made me angry. Like, and I was sat there reading this delightful message from him, just seething, just like looking for any crumb of something I could get upset at. But he'd worded it so perfectly and
Like, mate,
so
I'm
well.
so sorry you feel like that.
He was like, but I think Jake's got the wrong end of the stick. So he didn't even like throw Jake under the bus. It was
no,
like,
really,
I don't think he
nice
must have been paying attention to what I said.
So nice.
He said the actual conversation was, actually, I think Big would love to come, having been a United fan and a Palace fan. Like, it was completely different. Jake had just basically not been paying attention.
Which, to be honest, for anyone who knows me, is very believable.
And he was just like, he said, and then he explained why he couldn't invite me, because basically he wouldn't have been able to get enough tickets, and it wasn't a
malicious thing,
no,
or
it
a
absolutely
spiteful
wasn't.
thing.
And he was like, and I'm really sorry if it has affected our friendship.
Oh, it's
really
a shame. I really value
to.
your friendship.
He says we've known it, and I just sat there, and I was so mortified.
You were more angry than anything else in the media.
Yeah.
So I remember you texting me being like, "Why the fuck is this prick being nice?
Yeah.
Like, I've just tore into him. He should be coming back at me. Why the fuck is he being so nice? How dare
he?" And that's the thing, he wasn't even the slightest bit upset or angry at me for reacting.
No, and you were just like, "How dare he make me feel guilty?"
Yeah, and I felt so guilty. And then the thing was that I was having to see him the next day at 5-a-side.
Yeah.
And I showed up early, and I was butterflies in my stomach. I've never seen this guy angry, but I was just so ashamed to see him. And I was at the back end of the pitch, and I heard him turn up. He was having a fag before getting himself in goal, and he just went, "Oi!" And I've never heard him raise his voice, and I just looked at him, and he just pointed at me from across the pitch, and he just, "Come here," and he walked towards me, and he just grabbed me and gave me a massive bear hug, and he was like, "You're a fucking idiot," and I was, "I love you."
Couldn't have been nice. And do you know what? It does make me so grateful that we know people like that. That's,
absolutely.
That's my friend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It makes me so nice.
So now, I think if I ever heard something he'd said, I would absolutely approach it differently. I would go to him and say, look, I heard this. I don't think you would have said it like that. So, what happened, sort of thing.
You learnt and you progressed.
And I literally... And then I was angry at Jake for having predicted I was going to... Because the problem was, I fully intended to wait for Jake's response to his thoughts of the message before I sent it, but Jake took so long to read it, I was like, fuck it, I'm sending it. I can't wait.
I reacted in the same way, because, look, newsflash, I'm not very observant. I don't pay attention to things. I often get things wrong. And do you know what? My response was exactly the same as it would be to most situations. I think you said to me, you were like, because I was playing as well, and you both explained the situation, and I just kind of went, and you were like, didn't even say that. This is what you said, and I was like, oh yeah, that might have been it. Yeah. Fair enough, and just sort of moved on and was like, yeah, my bad.
I think what made me so upset was because I think so highly of Alex. When I heard he had such a basic, disappointing view. One that's...
And he didn't even have it.
No, he didn't. Because I then thought, oh my God, you're just like someone else we know who has that sort of view of people. And I was like, I find that so disappointing in him. And then to find out I'd completely jumped the gun and got it wrong, and I should have approached it differently. It was just...
And I just say, ow.
It gives me goosebumps now thinking about it.
Ow. Doesn't matter that I've made a promise on the pod now publicly that to get him on. It won't matter because he doesn't listen. Despite being one of my best friends, he does not listen to the fucking pod. I met up with him not long ago, and he was like,
he listens to so much stuff.
He was like, "How's the pod going?" And I'm like, "Oh, we've stopped it." He's like, "Oh, right." I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Yeah, no." Well, I listened to the one you guys did about something not that long ago, and I was like, "Ow, mate."
Just be
honest.
You
don't have to apologise. You don't have to beat around the bush. You don't listen. It's fine. I get it. But perhaps nudge him in the direction of the pod. I'll give him his due.
He shares our posts and stuff, so he does his part.
He fucking doesn't.
He did.
I haven't seen him share a post yet.
I thought he did one the other day. No, he did. When I posted the thing about doing the full video, I'm pretty sure he shared that.
Maybe, but listen. Ow, I love you, but someone nudge him in the direction and tell him to listen to this and share this.
Yeah.
Fucking son of a bitch.
I think probably the good thing to have him on, I mean, people can say what they think, is perhaps have him on for a football one with Ash. Have the four of us on the pod together.
He probably wouldn't pay attention. He'd be on Twitter. And he'd suddenly look up and be like, No, I'm picking on him, but I love you, Al. A lot of love.
We do. A lot of love for Al. He's good people.
He is good people, and I don't imagine he's ever been in a fight in his life either. He's such a
No.
sweetheart.
All right, one fight I've got to mention just to sort of round it off is one with one of our friends. I don't know. Should I mention his name?
Fuck it, why not? I don't care.
Our friend Dan.
Okay.
And it was basically, we were in school and there was this group of, for lack of a better word, there was like 2 or 3 gay guys in our school that were around our age.
I think I know this
sort
story.
Of became massively popular in our school for no other reason than the fact.
Imagine that,
they were
gay guys being popular in an all-boys school.
And it was sort of this.
It wasn't a Catholic school, was it?
They were untouchable because they were gay. Like, if you said anything about them,
do you know what? Before you go on, I've just got to say, there was a kid that I went to school with, and he had like a hole in his septum, in the heart.
Yeah.
And he was like, he acted like the biggest dick, and it was like, mate, everyone in the school knows they're not going to punch you because it could kill you.
Yeah.
And no one wants that on their fucking record.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about you dying. I assure you that you're that much of a dick. But no one wants that on their record. No, but anyway, and I was like, what happened? Because I've seen him out and about doing it to like new kids in the school. I'm like, they don't fucking know. No. Why would you antagonise someone that knows them? I'm like, maybe he did just have a death wish. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's all right. And none of us in our sort of group of friends liked these guys. They were just arseholes. It had nothing to do with the fact they were gay.
They were untouchable.
And yet, quite, they knew they could get away with it.
Well, anything. I think I met one of them once, and I, for the record, no idea he was gay, no idea who he was or what his name was or what his history of you guys were. And I remember walking away, and I was like, who was that guy? He's a bit of a dick. And then you guys were like, oh, that's such and such, and he's blah, 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 and you sort of went into your history with him. But so, I was a bit like...
And then one of the guys...
Full of himself.
We sort of had a history with, because he was friends with these girls we liked at the time. So it was all, like, there was beef, best way to put it. And this was back in the days of MSN. We basically had a big row with them in a group chat, agreed to fight them the next day. We knew they were going to bring more people.
Mate, shit got
organised
on MSN, mate.
Like
shit got done.
We got our mate Tommy, who's an absolute nut job involved.
Love Tom. Big shout out
he's
to
one
Tom.
of those guys that if you're going into a knife fight, you're having Tommy with you. Do you know what I mean?
If you're just going on a night out, you want Tommy. Do you know what I mean? He's good fun.
Yeah, and you know he'll back you up as well.
Yeah.
So me, Dan, and Tommy.
Well, I remember, just while we're on Tommy, I just remember FA Cup final, Palace United, on the way home. And we're in the tube, and on the other side of the station, there's these United fans giving it the big one because they just won and whatever, and we're there like, yeah, whatever, mate. And Tommy, unknown to any of us, had walked up across the other side of the platform, and as we're giving it the odd like, yeah, he comes on and goes, "Come on, in, we're doing this or what?" Like, and it was just like, fucking love you, Tom. Fucking mental.
And so
he didn't do, for the record, he didn't do anything. He was just there to shut down their bravado, just to kind of prove, look, you don't really want it. Don't talk big game if you're not going to give it. He didn't go over there with the intention to fight, just to put some clarity on the situation.
So anyway, we agreed with these guys to meet on lunch break and have a fight. We agreed, however many people we were allowed to bring.
I thought you were going to say bring your lunches.
No. So we agreed, me, Dan and Tommy would turn up and they would turn up, so there'd be 6 of us. We knew there was a likelihood there would be more of them because they were well protected within the school. But
you were fine because you had you and Tommy.
Yeah, so me and Tommy said to Dan, like, look, meet where we always meet at lunch and then we'll go there together. Do not go on your own. Don't, like, jump the gun. And so me and Tommy both went for pisses beforehand. You know, you don't want a full bladder when you're going into a lunch.
Standard.
And then we went to our spot. Dan's nowhere to be seen. We wait like 15 minutes. All of a sudden, Dan comes stumbling round the corner, like sort of near enough on the floor, looking quite dishevelled. And it turned out he went without us because he showed up, and because we weren't there immediately, he just went.
Like, well, they're not coming.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know. Dan, if Dan listens, tell me. Like, because I'm curious now. Yeah. Why didn't you wait?
So he goes and approaches him, and I don't remember the exact details, but apparently there was another guy who was quite hard with them, and he said to Dan, like, look, leave off. Basically, I'm looking out for him, sort of thing. And Dan was like, I don't give a shit. They said shit about my mum. I'm not having it. And the guy was like, well, my mum's dead and I wouldn't be reacting like this if someone... And then I believe Dan said something along the lines of, I don't give a shit about your dead mum. Because he was pissed off, he was angry, didn't think about what he was saying. And he said to this guy who's opened up to him, which is a really nice moment if you think about it.
These two guys with mums with problems, with they're slightly
Sensitive
problems there,
about,
sensitivity,
yeah.
and they've opened up and they're sharing. I'm going to fuck like your dead mum.
So the guy hits him, and then basically Dan
essentially proving his point of like, look, I'd be really upset if essentially proving the guy wrong.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I wouldn't react like that if you said about my mum. I don't give a shit about your dead mum. Smack. He should have stood up and gone, see, you would.
So Dan got attacked by several people, and then he comes back to me and Tommy, and then we look over to where they are, and there's loads of them. Like I always sort of increase the number over the years, but there was anywhere between
must be about 1,500 at the moment.
15 to 30 people, right?
It was like Sparta. It was like all of them lined up.
And Tommy just went, "All right, Big, we got this, haven't we?" And I was like, "Are you being fucking serious, Tommy? There's like 30 of them," and he was like, "Well, that's fine. We'll take half each." And I was like, I don't know, Tom. And he was like, all right, fine, I'll take 20, you take 10. And I was like, Tom,
that's a very generous offer.
Yeah, I was like, you're not getting this, Tom. And then, so I was very much like, I am not fighting 30 people for Dan. Like, I love the guy. I'd have been there for him in the moment, and it wouldn't have gone down the way it went down. But yeah, no, it was just hilarious.
I'm not going to fight 30 people for him.
No.
What's done is done. He's taken his licks. Let's walk away
and quite frankly, after hearing the story, I was sort of like, well, it makes sense the guy hit you, to be honest.
Because you're like, well, you'd have done the same.
Yeah.
Funny though.
Yeah.
Funny.
Absolutely.
What made you go without him?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask about the mum thing. Like, I get that. You're not thinking you're angry.
Yeah, no, and I can't judge him. I used to react like that to stuff, so
yeah,
absolutely. But no, and I literally said to him like, "You had one job. Wait for us." That was literally the only thing we asked of you. No matter what, wait for us. We were like, even if we're slightly late because we got out of class late or whatever, wait for us. You didn't.
Well, and paid the price.
Yeah.
For not going in packing Tommy and Big. I think, unless you have anything else to share.
No, I had one close run-in since that I can remember, and it's a third shout out for Dave in this pod. He was sort of involved. It was New Year's Eve. We were in Lloyd's in Croydon, and I'd gone for a piss, gone to the bar, and I'm walking back to the table with my drinks, and this random guy like sort of steps in my way, and I'm a bit drunk at this point, so I'm trying to like step round him, and he keeps stepping in my way, and he just suddenly goes, "Have we got a problem, mate?" And I was like, "No, why?" And he was just like, and then his mate comes over and is like, I don't know what the guy's name was, "Hey Gaz, have we got a problem here?" And I was like, I don't know.
Have we got a problem?
Have we got a problem? Dave then comes over, he sees these two guys, and the other guy that his mate came over was quite a big guy. And then Dave comes over and is like, "Big, have we got a problem?" And I was like, "Dave, at this point,
like, I don't know.
I honestly don't know, mate." And we sort of stood there in silence for what felt like an eternity, but was probably about 10, 15 seconds, where they were sizing up the situation, basically. And they just walked off. And then Dave was like, "What was all that about?" And I was like,
I don't know.
I don't know, mate. I really don't. And to this day, I still don't know if we had a problem.
I think it's safe to assume you did.
Yeah, I just to this day, I don't know what it was about. Another funny sort of near fight story, just last one,
Tenerife.
Was Tenerife.
Yeah.
And basically we have a friend called Chelsea who was single at the time, enjoying herself on holiday, flirting with guys, dancing, doing what a single girl would do, absolutely nothing wrong. We're in this tiny little club, and if I remember correctly, there was...
And can I just say, by the way, when her husband, who does listen to the pod, when he listens to this, she'll have only just recently celebrated her birthday. So if you could pass on from Crossing Swords a very happy
birthday to Chelsea. Absolutely. If I remember correctly,
that's our gift, by the way. A shout out on the pod.
Her husband was with me for this story actually, and in this tiny little club there was like this small dance floor in the middle, and then on either side there was these two platforms with dancing poles on, if I remember correctly.
Naturally, where you'd be found.
And I was on one side
naturally
with dancing
where you'd be
poles,
found.
and I was with Ash, our football correspondent as well, and we basically saw Chelsea surrounded by several guys. I remember it being like 4 or 5. As the story goes on and the years go on, they get bigger and bigger, and more
Naturally,
of them.
yeah.
But yeah, there's
Like
about five
five guys that look like The Rock.
Small guys, do you know what I mean? I'm not like going to go, yeah, they were all Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but they weren't small guys. And I basically sort of like nudged Ash and was like, because it looked dodgy. They looked like they
You saw guys circle Chelsea and you were like, this is like none of the videos I've ever watched.
This looks dodgy.
This looks different.
Yeah, this looks violent. And I was just like, oh, this doesn't look right. So then we instantly went serious. Tony then turns and sees us looking all serious, and he stands with us. We point Chelsea out, and then he turns serious, and we're just staring at this group of guys with Chelsea. And one of them spots us, whispers something in her ear. She looks at us and just starts bursting out laughing, and then says something back to them, and then they just walked off. So to me, she told them we were hard guys, like scared.
Well, I've never asked this, but did any of you like pretend to chew gum? You like looking tough,
I don't know.
going after the bar for a toothpick.
But we were definitely giving them the stink eye. Do you know what I mean?
Put a bit of stank on that thing.
We looked.
Put a bit of stank on that thing.
We looked like we had intentions. Do you know what I mean?
You always look like you got intentions.
Yeah.
I just want to say that about you. I've known you a long time now, and you always look like you got intentions.
Yeah, you're never quite sure what they are, whether they're.
Wouldn't trust that scumbag Ash as far as I can throw him.
But yeah, that was just quite a funny moment looking back.
Yeah, no, I think it's a light-hearted way to end.
Yeah.
And as we shall end as we started, guys, social
right
here, contact information somewhere in this general vicinity. Yeah. Talk to us, tell us what you want to hear us, because you know what, Big can't come up with all the ideas on his own, guys. He needs help.
I'm struggling, guys.
He needs help. Yeah. And look, he sure as shit ain't getting it from this guy.
No.
I can't squeeze it in. Look, if I'm going to spend a week writing the intros, I can't come up with ideas as well. So sure, some of you are going to say, but Jake, you didn't write the intro today. Well, fuck you guys. What are you coming at me, man? Man's got to show man some respect, just like this man's got to show man some respect. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying?
I have no idea what you're saying.
This is how you ended up with trouble with that guy. This is how you ended up. This is how you end up with a problem.
Well,
talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
give us ideas.
Because the thing is, for Jake to write his amazing intros, he needs there to be a subject to begin with. So if I'm not coming up with subjects,
there's got to be a starting point.
Yeah.
And also, give us feedback. Maybe you think the pod's shit, in which case keep your fucking opinions to yourself, mate, alright?
No, but we are always open to
maybe
ideas.
Maybe you think the pod's okay, but could be better if we did X, Y, and Z, and we're open to that. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, we actually do editing now, so like we're doing bits.
Again, it's a very one-sided we.
Yeah, but I said we. I wasn't taking credit for it.
I was giving it. I know it sounded aggressive.
It did.
That's just my tone.
I felt it actually sort of felt a bit like, well, if you think the editing's shit, that guy's fault.
I just meant to give you some nice credit. There's, like I said, when I do the
also
pod,
clear yourself of liability at the same time.
When I do the pod, I find myself getting so worked up and angry that I just that aggression. I don't know. Can't help it. But I meant it to. You
can see how he got in so many scraps as a younger man.
Yeah, it's suddenly easy to see why people thought I was a prick.
But anyway, guys, as always, thank you for listening, especially if you made it this far in. Let us know what you want.
Let us know how you find season 3. Let us know how you found season 2. If you struggled through season 1, that's understandable. It's a bit of a
mishmash.
The sound quality is not as good as it was now. In the very first episode, we didn't even know what we were doing. It was like fucking here, there, and everywhere. But if you have enjoyed them and found them, let us know if you think if maybe we used to do things a certain way in the first 2 seasons, you'd like to see us go back to it. Don't know, but tell us.
Yeah,
we want to hear from you guys. And as always, go on our social media pages, share the pages, share the videos. Go on YouTube, share the videos. Subscribe,
you will
rate.
You will find in the description to our podcast episodes and our YouTube episodes links to our website, to our social media, everything. So
yeah, well, we don't have a website, but
no, we do.
Sort of.
Well, no, we do.
Okay, well, look, we're a well-oiled machine, as you can tell. But
it's on Buzzsprout, but it's
it's not our website. We didn't make Buzzsprout.
No, but it's our website on
Bro, I'm prepared to give you credit for editing the videos, but I'm not prepared to give you credit for fucking Buzzsprout.
I'm not asking for credit for Buzzsprout. I'm saying we have a website.
We have a page on Buzzsprout.
Yeah.
It's not a website.
Well, it counts.
Well, this debate is going to rage long into the night, so we're going to leave you at that point. But yeah, rate it, share it. Rate it is a big thing. Leave comments on whether you're on iTunes or I don't know whether you do it on Spotify. You do it on iTunes though, so leave us a comment. Tell us that you like it. If you don't like it, don't leave a comment. Do us a favour, please. But
yeah,
and big. I think for the YouTube video viewers. While the camera's still on and working, I think the best way to end is for you to throw that stank that you gave those guys and let them know what it was all about. So guys, much love, much respect. Please like, share, subscribe, rate it, and see you soon.